What's up everyone, Vinny Musso here from Musso Athletics, here for day 5 of our 30 days of force. If you haven't seen the first 4 days, I recommend going back, taking a look at the videos. You can kind of get an idea of what we've been talking about and kind of catch up to where we are at this point. So for those that have been watching, we've been talking about force absorption for the past couple days. We've been talking about how important it is, different ways to train it. And today we're going to go into a very important but still often overlooked aspect of force absorption when it comes to training. I think this is a part of force absorption training that a lot of people kind of tend to gloss over, or they don't really kind of look at it too in detail, or when they're training on their own, they don't really take this concept into consideration. And that concept is reactive force absorption. Okay, so what that is it's exactly what it sounds like. It's not no trick questions here or trick statements or anything like that. It's being reactive with how you can absorb force. Okay, and there's two huge reasons why this is important. Okay, so our first one, injury prevention. Okay, we've probably sensed the theme of our how important injury prevention is and how important force absorption is when talking about injury prevention. But I think reactive force absorption may even play, it might be probably the biggest role in injury prevention that we can do, in terms of training, whether we are training, whether we're athletes ourselves and we're training ourselves for injury prevention, we're training another athlete for injury prevention, or, your personal trainer training a client, really trying to focus on injury prevention, or again, in the physical therapy or rehab field. And the reason why, reactive force absorption is so important for injury prevention, this statement here might sound a little bit funny, but if you think about it, it really makes sense, and it sounds kind of obvious. So, injuries are not expected. Okay, so you think about that, you might say, well, obviously, we don't want to get injuries, but, think of a lot of injuries that you've had, if you have had an injury, something that you experience playing athletics or going through your everyday life, and, obviously not talking about something, like if you were to get, hit by something, obviously that, that's one type of injury, but the main type of injury that I'm talking about, and a lot of you will probably kind of realize this as you think about it, a lot of your injuries happen during, situations that you don't expect to happen. Okay, so what I mean by that, you're an athlete landing from a jump, you don't expect to get hurt landing from a jump, but you do. Walk, kind of out in your everyday life, you're walking, you just take a misstep, you get hurt, again, you weren't expecting to take that misstep, but you did, and you got hurt from it. Okay, so that is why reactive force absorption is so important in your injury prevention, and I'll go, further into detail about this, okay? Because you've probably noticed, a lot of the exercises that, we've been seeing in the videos, and I'm sure a lot of you who already are training for force absorption, we do it and we train ourselves and our bodies in general in very controlled environments. Okay, so think about, when you go to work out at a gym, whether you're lifting weights, you're doing plyometrics, you're really doing any type of athletic movement, training on your own, a lot of that is planned out. And what I mean by planned out, and in a controlled environment, when you're going to jump, when you're going to land, you're watching the ground as you land. If we're lifting weights, you see the bar, you're controlling it down and up if we're bench pressing. So everything, or most of what we do in a gym is very planned out and in a controlled environment, okay? But as most of us know, the world can be a very hectic place. The sporting world can be a very hectic place. We're not always going to be in situations where we're in full control, where we know exactly what our body is going to go through. So that is why, this is such an important concept. If we're overlooking this type of force absorption training, we're really selling ourselves short on improving our body's ability to resist injury. Okay, and you'll see in some of the exercises, and again, just a short catalog of exercises at the end of this video where we're really talking about that reactive force absorption. Okay, so what we want to think about when we are training this way is we want to make these movements as reactive as possible. Okay, so again, we talked about how a lot of training we do is in a very controlled environment. We know when we're jumping, we know when we're landing. If we can expose ourselves to a little bit more unpredictability, where a body kind of has to make split-second decisions and reactions, and split-second develop a second ability to absorb force in a split second, that is going to lead to, again, a greater capability of our body to prevent and protect ourselves against injury. Okay, so that's really the main focus of the exercises at the end of this video. You'll see, ways that we can do that. We can do exercises with our eyes closed. So if we take a look at even the slower eccentric video that we talked about with the exercises at the end, and our rate of force development video with the exercises at the end, if you take those movements, which can be, some might view them as pretty basic, take any of those exercises and just close your eyes. Okay, so you've taken out your vision, and again, when we're talking about vision, I could stand here probably on 1 foot, which I'm doing right now, with my eyes open, and probably do this whole video from this position. Okay, I take my vision out, so I close my eyes, and you can see, again, I start to wobble a little bit. So even just taking out that vision, my body is in a little bit different place than it's used to, and it has to make all these little micro adjustments and absorb all these little directions of force to try to stabilize myself. So looking back at those exercises that we've talked about, doing any of those with your eyes closed is a good way to turn it into a reactive type of movement. So again, you're decreasing the amount of control. We still want to be safe, obviously, but we're kind of decreasing the amount of control that we have over the movement, making our body more reactive. Okay, so we have to react to different, unfamiliar, movements and situations that simulate more what we experience in real life. Again, we're not always going to be in positions where we're, in a controlled environment where we can plan everything out. Sometimes we have to, react to different, stimuli in the environment. Okay, and that's why this is very big for carryover both into real life situations and on the athletic field. So a couple examples to kind of really illustrate this point and how important this concept is. Let's take an example I like to use a lot with some basketball players that I work with. Let's say you're on the break, getting ready to go for a layup or a dunk. You have a defender, coming up on the side of you, and in your mind, you're kind of planning out, okay, I think the defender's going to do this. I think I'm going to jump up towards the rim. The defender's going to jump up with me. I'm going to hit the defender in midair. I'm going to absorb, and then I'm going to finish. Okay, so your mind and your body is expecting that. Okay, but what happens if in that situation you're about to go up for your jump, again, expecting that you're going to hit the defender in air up towards the rim, but let's say instead of the defender doing that, okay, he tries to swipe at the ball before you jump. Okay, so he runs by, swipes down at the ball, and just before you jump, he kind of hits your hip. Okay, your body and your mind was anticipating jumping first and then absorbing the contact, but now you've been put in a situation where you weren't expecting to get hit before you jump, but now what's your body going to do? Okay, if we haven't trained ourselves to be ready for these situations, most likely that little hit, even if it's not a great amount of force that's been delivered to you, that little amount is enough to send a lot of players off balance and not be able to finish. Okay, but again, if we've trained ourselves to be able to absorb force in a more reactive type of fashion, those are the athletes that are going to be able to take that hit, not really be affected, still go up and finish. Okay, so that's a good example to think about how the importance of this concept carrying over to the sporting world. And I'm sure any other athletes out there, you can think of a lot of situations like that. Football receiver, you're expecting the same type of thing. Maybe instead you're expecting to get hit, kind of immediately off the line as soon as that ball is snapped, but instead you're able to go a couple feet, and then the defender, gives you a stiff arm. How are you going to react to those situations where you weren't expecting to be in? Okay, and going into the more, a real world, everyday example to illustrate this concept. Let's say, you're a parent, grocery shopping, so you're carrying, you're carrying, your young child in one arm, you have, a basket in the other arm, okay, you're walking out of an aisle into the main aisle, someone pushing a grocery cart on their phone, not paying attention, doesn't see you, and they almost, run you over, okay, so you weren't expecting that to happen, but, reactively and instinctively, your body's gonna, move to get out of the way, shift one way, shift another way. So now instead of, just walking in a straight line like your body anticipated, you now have to, absorb force in a very awkward position with, your kid in one arm and a bag of groceries or a cart, the handheld cart of groceries in the other. So what's your body gonna do in that situation, okay? So again, the main takeaway of this video is to emphasize the importance of our reactive force absorption. So again, lots of training we do, lots of training that I've seen focuses on very controlled environments, which is good. I'm definitely not saying that's a bad thing. The safest way to develop strength is in a controlled environment where your body knows what to expect. But then we have to learn, how to react to other situations, whether it's in life, whether it's on a basketball court, soccer field, football field, whatever it is. Okay, so that's the main takeaway. And you'll see again in a lot of these exercises at the end. And like I said in the beginning of the video, just a short catalog of some exercises that hopefully give you some ideas of different ways to train for reactive force absorption. Okay, so you'll see, like I mentioned at the beginning too, a great way to work on your reactive force absorption. Take some of the exercises we've seen already, just close your eyes, and that in and of itself, taking away your vision, makes it reactive because your body has to stabilize in a situation that it's not used to. Okay, you'll also see in some of these videos, and shout out to my fiance for helping me record some of these videos. Great ways if you have a partner training. Okay, you'll see in some of the videos, I'm set up in one position, I get a cue, I have to turn around, like you'll see in the first video, I think that's in after my explanation here, you see me facing one way, getting a cue, I have to turn around, land, and I'm catching, a weighted medicine ball. Okay, so I don't know, where that medicine ball is going to be, if it's going to be up here, down here, to my side, to my feet. So I have to quickly, find the ball, land from a quick, hop turn, absorb force while absorbing force, that I don't know where it's coming from. Okay, so concepts like that are a really good way to do it. You'll also see in one of these exercises, again, not expecting, where the force is coming from or even when force is coming. Okay, so you'll see one of the exercises where I'm lined up. Okay, I have my knee up, my eyes are closed. Okay, I get a push from behind. Okay, I don't know when that push is coming. Okay, so again, that's a really good way to simulate, those real life examples that I gave. Really good way to simulate that. Okay, I don't know when the force is coming. My eyes are closed, so I can't, see. I have no cue of when it's coming. So I have to quickly, when I am pushed, I have to absorb that force. Okay, and I don't know if it's going to be directly, I'm being directly pushed forward, if I'm being pushed to the side a little bit, another side. Okay, so that's the importance of this type of training. Okay. Just to reemphasize, I can't, emphasize enough because it is, such an important concept. If you think about it, how many situations you are in life, how many situations you find yourself in life where you have to, absorb force in a reactive fashion. So that's it for the explanation. Again, hopefully, I was able to get the point across of how important this is. Take a look at some of the exercises, again, with some of the concepts, I explained why and how this is reactive force absorption, and hopefully that you'll be able to see some of these exercises, maybe take some of them into your own training, take some of them into training you're doing with someone else, or see an exercise and get inspiration for an exercise. Hey, I've already seen that exercise, but that kind of gives me an idea of an exercise I can do to build off of that. Okay, so that'll do it for today's episode. Again, take a look at some of the videos of the exercises at the end. please like the video, subscribe, share the video, and if you haven't yet already, go ahead and follow Amuso Athletics on Instagram for some more training content. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.
Go. 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 My bad.
That was good.
Go.